Hi, this is Yafi Lavova, registered dietitian nutritionist with Baby Bloom Nutrition, and Daniel, who is ever at the breast. Sometimes he's napping during nap time nutrition, hence the title, but not so much today. Today, we're going to be covering the topic of scheduling a newborn, the ifs and hows of scheduling. So first, I want to say that when I first had my twins 3.5 years ago, I had all these books on parenting, and my mother really made fun of me and didn't understand why I had to read these books. And the truth is, I was just in a quest for some sanity. I was waking up 9+ times a night. I worked with 2 different sleep specialists, and I was just so desperate for sleep. It turned out we had a lot of issues. We had some tongue-tie issues, which I've discussed on Nap Time Nutrition, and also adenoid issues. We had a lot going on, never mind the fact that there were 2 of them and 1 of me. So that's what really kind of rerouted my career and got me into dealing with kids. So today, I'm talking about scheduling. So the thing is that you as the new mom might feel the need to schedule your child for convenience. You want some predictability. Your life has just been thrown into an upheaval and everything's different. Your identity is different. Your nutrition is different. Your everything is different. And you need some semblance of a life, and scheduling will help get you there. Unfortunately, it may or may not be appropriate for how old your infant is. And there are different ways to go about it. I'm really big into baby-led weaning, so I'm going to call this baby-led scheduling because that's really the best way to go, and I will explain why. You want things to be convenient, you want things to be predictable, you want to have some kind of semblance of life, but you also need to take into account the biological needs of your child. And much like with nutrition later on, nutrition and sleep needs right now are determined by your baby's biology. So the best way to go is to look at your baby's sleep signs and hunger signs and follow those. Really just stick with that. So you don't really want to impose a schedule. A lot of these books say that you should have an infant on a 3-hour schedule. Nap for an hour and a half, up for an hour and a half. Nap for an hour and a half, up for an hour and a half. And that can make you as the mom crazy, but it also doesn't take into account your child's specific sleep and nutrition needs for that particular day. Those needs change day to day. How much are they growing? Are they coming down with something or fighting something? Hopefully fighting something rather than coming down with it. But you don't really know milestone events. All these things are going to change their nutrition and their sleep needs day to day, and imposing a schedule that doesn't have much to do with the cues that they are displaying for you is really going to work against you as far as nutrition development, milestone development, etc. This guy's having some fun under there. So let's go over some signs. Body signs for sleep, you may think they're pretty obvious. Some of them are not that obvious. Yawning, that's an obvious one. Difficulty focusing, which in the early days they always have difficulty focusing. They're developing their vision. But they kind of stare off into space, that glassy-eyed, you'll know. Arching backwards, fluttering eyelids, consistent sucking. They suck on anything. A baby who is a newborn needs to sleep every 1 to 1.5 hours. They don't stay awake that long. They get really overwhelmed by everything because everything is new. At 3 to 6 months, they need to sleep every 1.5 to 3 hours. That's a pretty big range, but you have a lot of things going on there, and it could be all over the charts, really. From 6 to 12 months, they need to sleep every 2 to 3 hours, and as they get older, they're going to establish more of a pattern that's predictable, and you can go by the clock at that point. But when they're infants, when they're newborns, you really can't go by the clock. Hunger signs. The early signs of hunger are restlessness, until about 6 weeks, sucking on their fists, sucking on whatever. After that, they're getting into more exploring, and sucking on their fists may or may not be a hunger sign. Smacking lips, sticking tongue in and out. When little Daniel wants to eat, he just looks at me and goes. It's really funny because I feel like he's communicating with me even though he's only 8 weeks old. It's really great. Active signs are rooting, which is when they kind of get themselves in position to nurse and go, and they'll try to really suck on anything. fidgeting, squirming, hitting your arm or your chest, fussing, and quick breathing. And rule of thumb is really when you don't know what it is, offer the breast or the bottle if you're bottle feeding. And if they don't want it, they'll turn away, they'll shut their lips, you'll know. Crying and moving head from side to side frantically like this is a late indicator of hunger. So if they're already doing that, you may need to calm the baby down before offering the breast or the bottle. Also, when they're full, turning the head away, they stop sucking, they're spitting out the nipple, they're pulling away, they're falling asleep, they're distracted with their surroundings. That means they're full. If they've only had a little bit, it means that they really weren't that hungry to begin with, and you can stop at that point. It's really important when you're establishing a healthy relationship with food to start while nursing or while bottle feeding, to really listen to your child's cues, because they're going to tell you if they're hungry or if they're full. And we need to start at this point listening to the child's cues and saying, I respect what your body is telling me and I'm going to go with it, because their biology is in charge. It is going to tell you what you need to know, except in very rare instances. So sleep versus hunger. It's difficult to tell sometimes if they're sleepy or if they're hungry, especially when some kids, when they're sleepy, start asking to nurse a lot, one breast to the other, back and forth for a couple of hours. That could be an indicator of cluster feeding, or it could be tired. So you can judge, but you're never going to go wrong by offering a feed. Just watch for signs that they're not interested and listen to those signs. As far as waking a baby to feed, well, in the first 4 weeks, you may be advised by your doctor to wake the baby up in order to feed them. And it really depends on circumstances. Some babies wake up on their own. Oh, thanks for the thumbs up. I love those reactions. It's fun to see it float across the screen. A lot of babies will wake up on their own. Some will need to be woken up. During the day, you need to feed your infant, your newborn, every 2 to 3 hours, and overnight every 4 to 5 hours. And if this means you need to wake the child up to feed them on that type of schedule, then you're going to be advised by your doctor if that's appropriate in your case. When they're positive, when their healthy weight gain is established, which is about 4 ounces per week, that's when you can stop doing that. And your baby is going to be sleeping on a schedule that matches their nutrition for the most part. So you really want to notice signs and patterns and be consistent with settling techniques and bedtime routines. When it's time to go to bed, maybe you're going to change the diaper and then swaddle them and sing them a song, maybe nurse a little bit and put them down. You want to establish a pattern that's consistent every night so that the child learns a routine and understands. That's going to help later on. And if you're able to put down your baby sleepy but not asleep, then that will really set you up for good sleep habits later on. Overscheduling does not account for growth spurts, colds, and milestone events. You do not know what your child is going through in that particular day or in the next couple of days, and imposing a false schedule on them is not going to do either of you any good. So it's really best to watch for their signs. They're going to fall into a pattern, and you can schedule around the pattern that they set for themselves. But following these books where they really are very stringent with the schedule from day one is not really in the best interest of anybody, and it's not going to lead to your sanity or your child's healthy relationship with food, which is the goal. So I'm open to any questions. As always, please leave them in the comments, since I don't have a whole lot going on right now with comments, nothing to address, but I will address them as you leave them. Check me out on my website, babybloomnutrition.com. Right here on Facebook, I'm very active and always open to hear your topic suggestions. And on Instagram as babybloomnutr, and you can find me on Pinterest, pinterest.com/Yaffi, YAFFI. And I'll see you next week. I don't have a topic picked out, so please let me know what you think and what your questions are. Thanks, and see you next week.